Hello, friends. My name is Attorney Shakina Melbourne, and I'm the principal attorney of Upton Law PLLC, where we specialize in business, bankruptcy, and real estate. Today, we're going to talk about bankruptcy. Most people, when they hear the word bankruptcy, I'm learning, they hear Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Well, what does that actually mean? And why do I think that? Well, when people hear the word bankruptcy, if the person you're listening to in a digital platform, that could be any social media, websites, whatever, if that person is an individual, not an attorney, the odds are they're likely talking about Chapter 7 bankruptcy. If you hear the person say stuff like, well, if you file bankruptcy, you can get rid of all your debts, that's Chapter 7 bankruptcy. And most of us feel like if you hear the word bankrupt, period, and I blame the game of Monopoly, you think of get rid of all the people I owe money to. But wait, there's more. There's some other benefits of filing a bankruptcy, and one of those chapters is Chapter 13. I am very confused on why everyone's afraid of for it, but I also understand the why. And part of that why is simply because most people are trying to get rid of the debts they own. The other part is that most people don't understand what a Chapter 13 is, and partially so that's true because on average, the only person that can file a Chapter 13 bankruptcy is actually a bankruptcy attorney, not an individual, not somebody that filed themselves multiple times and now they're giving you the 10 steps on how to file, not the people that can say, hey, I can help you prep your cases, but you got to do it on your own. A Chapter 13 bankruptcy attorney is usually who can help you with that type of case. And the reason that is because a Chapter 13 is really based on a case by case basis. Similar to a Chapter 7, which is also based on a case by case basis. However, there's some common themes in a Chapter 7. But a Chapter 13 really has some different nuances, some different sauce, or, pepper you put on it that can be significantly different for an individual to file the case on their own. So, the goal today is to talk a little bit more about a Chapter 13 and actually help you understand what is it and what does it mean. No different than a Chapter 7. A Chapter 13, for example, we're going to do this in pieces based on a particular asset, and I got my notes, okay? So let's talk about a house. If your house is going into foreclosure, you can file a Chapter 7 or a Chapter 13 to stop that foreclosure sale. But there's different rules of engagement on what happens after the foreclosure is stopped. Specifically in a Chapter 13, because that's all we're talking about today. In a Chapter 13, if you stop that foreclosure, you have the ability to work out arrangements with your mortgage company through a Chapter 13 case. The biggest part of that is they'll work out deals with you where you're paying your payments, your current payments, and a little bit towards the arrearage, and you're getting your account current throughout the entire Chapter 13 case. You also have different opportunities to do different types of loan modifications within the Chapter 13 case or in addition to the Chapter 13 case to help you get back on your feet. Bankruptcy does not mean it's the end of the world, nor does bankruptcy mean that you never pay anybody back. Bankruptcy is to get control of your debts, help you to be able to sleep better at night, move forward with your life, bring in more income, better income, but know that these debts that you have are in a position that you are in a more comfortable situation. Not always the best, but more comfortable. So, for example, if you own a house, take away the foreclosure. If you own a house and you have equity in your home, that's one of the reasons to file a Chapter 13 bankruptcy. In many states, they have a rule of how much equity you are allowed to have that will be protected in a bankruptcy case. Specifically in Michigan, if you are an individual, meaning single, you get up to $31,000 in equity in your home. It's a little more than that, but we're using whole numbers. So it's about $31,000. If you're married and both people are filing bankruptcy together, then you get up to $55,000 of equity that's completely protected. Well, what happens if you own a home and you own it outright? meaning you have no mortgage. That means the entire value of the property is equity. You may not have full protections in bankruptcy if you file that case. Let's say you have a mortgage and you've paid 10, 12 years into the mortgage, and now you have exceeded the 31,000 or the 55,000 in equity. Then one of the ways to protect your house, keep your house and the equity is to file a Chapter 13 bankruptcy. Who knew? You can file bankruptcy and still keep your house. Okay. Now let's talk about cars. Let's go back. The difference with a Chapter 7 and a Chapter 13 is that if you have a house and you have all this equity that's more than the amount that's allowed, did you know that the Chapter 7 trustee can take that house, sell it, and take the equity off of that property? Which is why Chapter 7 may not be suitable for you if you have a significant amount of equity in your home, but you still need help with your debts, restructuring, reconfiguring Chapter 13. Now, let's talk about your car. If you have a vehicle and you file a Chapter 13 bankruptcy, you are eligible to keep that vehicle. If it's a lease, you can continue to make your lease payments per usual. And in fact, you can go and get another lease without too much issues or problems because you were already in a lease before you filed a Chapter 13. If you have a car note, you can do a couple of different things or attempt to do a couple of different things throughout a Chapter 13 bankruptcy. So, for example, you may be able to work out a deal with the finance company to reduce the interest rate. You may be able to work out a deal with the finance company and reduce or cram down the value of the vehicle to the amount you owe on the loan, as long as the loan is less than the value of the car. Some of these cars is underwater, and that means you owe more than the value of the car. That's a whole nother story. However, for the basis of our education video today, you can do different things that can help with your car note. Even, for example, you might be able to spread the car note out for a further period of time to be able to have more money in your pocket to deal with your real day-to-day bills and not all these additional debts. And real day-to-day bills in the bankruptcy world is stuff like house note, car note, rent, insurance, food, all your subscriptions to watch all your videos and TV shows, cable, Wi-Fi, stuff like that. That's totally different than your credit cards, payday loans, and all that jazz. And so that's the jazz that we're trying to figure out what's the best way to maximize your income to expenses and still be able to live, right? Now, let's say, topic number 3, let's say you have a business and you want to keep the business open, but we want to quantify that by saying a profitable business. Not no business that you just went to the state and said, I put it on paper. That we're not talking about that. We talking about a business that has clients, that has money coming in, but not just money coming in, but money that exceeds the expenses of the business. And you want to keep that business, the equipment for that business, but you still need help on your personal side to get some structure together on your debts. You can file a Chapter 13 and keep the business and do the restructuring on your debts. One of the other benefits of filing a bankruptcy is the money you owe to IRS. You know, those personal taxes. One of the advantages of a Chapter 13 bankruptcy is that you're able to work out a deal with IRS, state taxes, and like here in the city of Detroit, city taxes through your Chapter 13 bankruptcy. That is something significantly different than a Chapter 7 case, because in a Chapter 7 case, that's not the case. There are no deals. You just got to pay them. In Chapter 13, they'll work with you. It's important, I believe, that you understand the benefits of a Chapter 13. So when you do go to speak to a bankruptcy attorney and you're looking at your options, you can say, okay, I at least know a little bit more about a Chapter 13 if that's what I qualify for. than simply saying, oh, well, I want to file Chapter 7 and then be lost when they say, oh, well, you don't qualify for a Chapter 7 and you qualify for a Chapter 13. Some of the other perks, on average, in a Chapter 13 case, you can see a credit score increase within 90 days of filing that bankruptcy. And part of that is because your creditors will receive payments during your bankruptcy case. But please understand, it's not going to be the same amount that you pay every month based on, the statement you get in the mail and says, this is your minimum payment amount. They will get a percentage based on the class of the debt and where they fit in the overall structure of your restructuring of your debt. I know it's a little, but it's a lot. And this is why it's always important to go and talk to a bankruptcy attorney and someone who has been doing this for some time. Because I've seen some horror stories and I've heard horror stories where someone files a Chapter 7 bankruptcy and lose their house or lose their car. And that does happen because someone is playing this game without understanding the rules. Understand the rules so you can win the game. Don't play the game hoping for the best. That's not what this is. Congress gave us an opportunity to get out of debt, work through our debts because this is a capitalist country. But understand there's still rules to the game, and it's important for you to understand the rules and the formula before you press start. Because if you press start and you don't know how to play the game, you can lose stuff. But if you press start and you know what you're doing, you can win the game and get the benefits of the bankruptcy court and the bankruptcy laws to help you and your family move forward, get the income that you need, get your debts in a situation that you can afford, and then be able to, as I like to say, sleep better at night. My name is Attorney Shakina Melbourne, and if you have any specific questions or need help with your bankruptcy or considering the option of if bankruptcy is for you, give us a call. We're here to help. Take care.